Good morning, everybody. I am your grateful neighborhood addict named Connor, and this is today's Daily Reflection. July 17th, Surrender and Self-Examination. My stability came out of trying to give, not out of demanding that I receive. Thus, I think it can work out with emotional sobriety. If we examine every disturbance we have, great or small, we will find at the root of it some unhealthy dependency and its consequent unhealthy demand. Let us, with God's help, continually surrender these hobbling demands. Then we can be set free to live and love. We may then be able to 12th step ourselves and others into emotional sobriety. The Language of the Heart, page 238. Years of dependency on alcohol as a chemical mood changer deprived me of the capability to interact emotionally with my fellows. I thought I had to be self-sufficient, self-reliant, and self-motivated in a world of unreliable people. Finally, I lost my self-respect and was left with dependency, lacking any ability to trust myself or to believe in anything. Surrender and self-examination while sharing with newcomers helped me to ask humbly for help. Hey guys, so this is a complicated one today. We have lots to unpack here, so let's jump right into the reading. The reading says, "My stability came out of trying to give, not out of demanding that I receive." And I think that's significant here because you see correction by doing the opposite action. And that's actually what I added to my flaws and resentments inventory that you'll see in the full module once it's complete. I'll post that up on the website, which will be done soon, and you'll be able to find that and any of the other recovery tools I've made all for free. So by adding a behavior column, we now have a complete behavioral model to work with. What's driving the behavior underneath, the behavior we want to change, the desired replacement behavior, and practical applications. But we'll get more into this later. So then Bill drops one of the deepest psychological insights in all of AA. Every emotional disturbance has, at its root, an unhealthy dependency and the unhealthy demand that comes from it. So let's unpack that. Bill is essentially giving us an equation. Dependency equals demand equals disturbance. So let's use some examples. I need this person to love me. That becomes they must love me. And when they don't, bang, resentment. Or I need everyone to respect me becomes they should respect me. And when they don't, anger. Or I need this job becomes I can't lose it. And when that's threatened, fear. So let's notice something here. The problem isn't necessarily wanting these things. The problem is when preferences become demands. And that's what Bill calls emotional dependency, which is the opposite of emotional sobriety. So when people talk about being a dry drunk, this is what drives that state. So typically, this is the part of the meeting where we would pass the basket for coffee, rent, and supplies. Unfortunately, this meeting is bring your own coffee, but it is self-supporting in such a way that I've been supporting it. I think it costs about $400 to get the studio up and running, minus the cost of my new laptop, and the software I use costs about $60 a month. So I do have Cash App and PayPal, and once I get the website finished, I'll point you guys there if anyone wants to contribute to the 7th tradition. That would be greatly appreciated, but don't forget, if you can't contribute, that is perfectly okay, because we need you much more than we need your contributions. So just keep coming back. All right, so let's move on to addiction and recovery. How did my addiction teach me this lesson? Well, what kept me dependent on methamphetamine was not having another way to handle the pain I was experiencing of crippling depression. Not even a cocktail of 3 antidepressants at the same time would touch my depression. It was bad. So bad that I've literally asked for ECT as well as all of the other tertiary treatments like TMS, ketamine, you name it. And let me tell you got to be in a pretty desperate place to, ask somebody to shock your brain, in such a way that we don't even understand why it works. Sometimes it works. So, I'm not an alcoholic, and I can't relate to necessarily a dry drunk, but I can relate to dependency on fear, right? Fear of pain that kept me dependent on methamphetamine. Then, of course, that turns into the demand, which is the addiction. So let's move on to the steps. There's a lot here. Why does today's reading belong here in the 12 steps? Well, what Bill has essentially done is add another layer to our inventory before the resentment column. So the way the Big Book sets up resentments in step 4 looks like this. Resentment to character defect to turnaround with a case-specific behavior change. So the way mine is set up looks like this. Resentment to known or unknown shortcoming to character defects, to opposite asset and behavior, to turnarounds with a complete behavior change. So notice what the quote was talking about earlier by treating the problem with its opposite. So that's kind of what I've done here. And what Bill is proposing in today's reading is something like this. Unhealthy dependency leads to demand, leads to resentment or fear. So that's pretty smart because sometimes our resentment isn't actually caused by the other person. It can be caused by the hidden sentence, they were supposed to, or life should have. So the resentment is simply the symptom. It's the demand that is the disease. Now, I haven't yet, but I think I'm going to make this into a worksheet or tool for you guys and add it to the growing collection of free tools for you on the website. So what is this step trying to teach me? Well, it's funny, the last week has been all about humility. And today we're still talking about humility, just from yet another angle. Humility isn't just, I'm not important or thinking less of yourself or anything like that. It's, I don't get to dictate reality, right? And so that's surrender. So why would this reading help someone working this step? Because you can quit drinking and drugging and still behave like a drunk or druggie, still demanding, still manipulating, still controlling, still offended by everything, still expecting the universe to cooperate with your plans. So Bill is saying that sobriety isn't complete until we stop trying to control life itself. So how does this prepare me for the next step? Change. Change is very helpful, I imagine, for making amends. Again, I'm on step 4, but because what is the purpose of making amends in the first place, right? Well, I mean, there are a few, but the primary one, I think, is to make change. And we're going to want to understand what went wrong within ourselves so we can A, keep our side of the street clean, and B, fix it so we have something to offer and bring to the table in a gesture of goodwill towards the new dynamic of the relationship we're potentially salvaging. So let's move on to faith. What is God trying to teach me through this? Well, the other sections today were pretty long, so I'm going to keep this one short today. We don't find freedom by getting our demands met. We find freedom by surrendering the demands themselves. And the miracle of surrender isn't the result. It's the person you become and the transformation that happens when you practice surrender. So surrender also opens up the channel for miracles to flow. So if you need a miracle in your life, or you've ever experienced one, it's worth noting that it comes after the surrender. So let's move on to hope. One takeaway into today that carries and inspires hope. We can change. I think that's incredibly inspiring because it treats the despair of feeling stuck without having a way out. So nobody's perfect, and we all have work to do on ourselves, but that work can be done, and real change is even more than possible. We have the tools to help us. So a quick note for the newcomer, if you haven't gotten to step 4 yet, don't worry about it. Just focus all of your energy on steps 1, 2, and 3. Maybe step 11 too, if you have a regular or daily practice for that. And for anyone that finds step 4 confusing or has questions about it, I've made it simple and answered all of the questions that I had when I first started, and it will be available soon for free on the website. So a thought-provoking question. Oh man, so close. I'm not re-recording this. I made it all the way to the end. 2 sentences. A thought-provoking question that ties into today's reading. What demand am I placing on life today that's stealing my peace? Thank you so much for listening today and for allowing me to be a part of your journey. I am your grateful neighborhood addict named Connor, and I'm wishing you another day gratefully sober. Until tomorrow.